when I met my spouse, we moved to a different location. Again, no running water. So we were hauling water for the first few years. And we signed up through IHS to get connected to the pipeline. And that took a few years because there's so many people on that waiting list. It's nice to have running water. It's nice to be able to shower, use the kitchen sink, to even use the toilet.
I think people probably assume that mostly everybody's hooked up to rural water. Well, there's people that either chose not to be or could not be reached with a rural water pipeline, so they're on private wells.
Yeah, so what we found is that there were pretty high levels of arsenic in our groundwater, and the Oglala Sioux tribe, we're a very rural community, and so we rely on, we don't have a, or at many years ago didn't have a public supply, and so of water, so we would use the groundwater through wells that would get drilled, and then that would provide water for our homes. And it was found that there were high levels of arsenic in our groundwater, and our people were drinking that, and so it was discovered that, you know, the arsenic in our water was actually contributing to our higher levels of arsenic in our bodies. So long-term exposure of arsenic in the water, or long-term exposure of arsenic period, can cause heart disease. It increases your risk for various cancers, cardiovascular disease, like I said, and so keeping your levels of arsenic exposure low is really important to your health. So one of the things through our Superfund project is we have several different components of it. What they're doing is they're actually exposing mice to arsenic to see what the health effects are. I mean, and they've done this in the past. However, what we're gearing up to is actually feeding these mice our water. You know, it's one thing to feed mice laboratory-made water that's high in arsenic, but at some point in the near future, we're going to be shipping our water, giving mice access to our water and seeing what the health effects are on those mice. And it's really cool to be able to use an animal model and then correlating that to us. So I'm really excited about that project. Now the Oglala Sioux tribe does have a public water supply, and that water supply is monitored. It actually comes, it's water from the Missouri River that comes from the pier area that gets piped in to our reservation. And that is actually the best source of water because it's monitored. They make sure the levels of arsenic and uranium are all under the EPA levels that are considered safe. And so that is the best option.
Luckily, we have good sources of water. The water we get from the Mini-Wachoni treatment plant and pier, awesome. It tastes great. Nobody really has any complaints about that. And we check, you know, we do our EPA sampling plan annually. There's thousands and thousands of dollars we spend on sampling just to make sure that it is, you know, according to the Safe Drinking Water Act, we have to do all those samples. And people don't really realize that's happening behind the scene, and that's on purpose. We don't want to have people worried. They should be able to turn on the tap and say, it's good to go, it's good to drink. You know, it'd be a good idea to have a map that shows where you know that the arsenic is higher. We know that it's kind of higher along creeks. I don't know if it's a geology issue, I guess, that the volcanic soil. I don't know. You know, there are different issues, but to have a map that would be really beneficial to show where you want to drill and where you don't want to drill, where you want to really avoid this area, or you can say this area is really good for arsenic or any other contaminant.
However, not everybody can have access to our public water supply because some homes are very, very rural, and so those homes do still have to rely on wells. And so when you have to, when your water comes from a well and you have a high level of arsenic in it, you need to filter it in some way. So or not use the water and, buy bottled water. But anyway, it is possible to filter arsenic out of your water through they call it a point of use device. We did a study a few years ago where we installed point of use devices to filter arsenic in homes that had high arsenic levels. And actually with that study, we monitored our participants, and the levels of arsenic in their urine actually decreased from using those arsenic filters.
A problem, or has been a problem in the past, with the filtration devices, like the maintenance after they're put in. They don't really know how to do it. And the less maintenance they have to do on the new devices, the better for everybody, because it's just like any filter. If it's reached its useful life, then it's not doing the job. It's not filtrating anything. So yeah, I think that would be great, very beneficial to them.
So yeah, water, everyone says that water is life, and it really is, and not having access to it, to clean water, it's not good for our health.
Yeah, the water is, Mini Wachoni is water is life, or it's the water of life. And then, so you've seen it everywhere we built the pipeline. People flocked and started moving in there. I think it's very vital for the communities, for everybody, for the tribe.
We cannot survive without water. And so we understand how important, and I think a lot of people understand how important it is to keep our water clean and safe, so that we can live for many, many future generations. Our ancestors have always known how important water is to our survival.